we're a month or two into the new year, and for a lot of us, that initial spark of motivation is probably starting to fade. Those big goals that we set might already feel a little bit harder to stick with, and that's okay. It's normal to lose that excitement. It happens to everyone. But the thing is, if you're only relying on motivation to keep going, you're going to fail because motivation is fleeting and you can't rely on that solely for taking action. I'd even say that taking action is what creates more motivation. When you get that momentum rolling, you start seeing the progress, it makes you want to keep going. But outside of that, having a strong, deeply rooted why is what keeps you moving forward, even when that excitement or that motivation fades, when life gets busy or when things get tough. We need that deeper driving force.
Yeah, and I think one, there's a couple things to think about. One, some people will think, oh, like I'm just not motivated, like, or they get upset or they get really down on themselves, and they're like, oh, just the motivation, like I can't stay motivated. And I mean, that's everyone, right? I don't think that like you. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. I'm not always motivated for everything that we want to do. So one, I think it makes sure that people understand that you're just like everyone else. Like, don't beat yourself up because you're not motivated. That's just the way motivation works. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's fleeting. It does not hang around. Um, so I think that's one thing. I want to make sure that people don't beat themselves up for it. And that's why we've talked about, you got to create those habits and those routines that get you going when motivation is not there for you.
Yeah, no one's motivated all the time. You, me, myself included. I do the shit I need to do because of the discipline and the why behind it, not because of I feel like going.
Yeah. Have you ever had anyone come up to you and just say, we're just not all as motivated as you are, or I wish I was as motivated as you are?
Yeah, a lot of times it's the question, how do you stay motivated? And I'm like, I don't. No one does, for the record.
Yeah, but I think that's a good conversation to have, and you're like, look, I'm not always motivated. So that's a good conversation to have with people. So anyway, today we're going to break down what it means to create your why and how to refine it as your life and goals evolve or change, and why it's okay if your targets shift or change over time. I imagine people have been going, doing well, and they see some progress, and of course life comes in, right? There's always something,
Yep.
And I always feel like too, it's like when things are going really well, it's almost some people are like, oh, I know something's going to happen. There's something's going to,
Suspicious.
yeah, exactly, right. There's something around the corner, right? But anyway, but it could be fun things too. It doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. It could be like a vacation, or just maybe you're just really slammed at work, and that could be a good thing. Maybe you're just crushing this year so far, and just things, all of a sudden, things start going out the window. Your plans, everything that you worked so hard for in terms of like, getting that routine in, or that motivation, why you're doing things, just kind of starts fading away, right? So we want to make sure that we can keep going despite that, and be able to pull away from that, and get yourself back together and understand why are we doing this.
Yeah, different seasons of life are going to require different approaches and different goals, and just how you're showing up day to day. I think even what you said about a busy season of work, I'm definitely in that busy season of work right now. And so my goals are adjusting a little bit as well, and just my mindset and things and my habits are adjusting to accommodate that. Because right now, our other teammate is on maternity leave, which is amazing. I actually just chatted with her today, and her and the baby are doing amazing, so it was really good to catch up with her. But that means that I am doing all of my work, all the business work, and all of her work as well. And so it's definitely been a lot. I've unfortunately reverted back to like my 12, 13-hour work days every single day, which is not ideal. But it's just the season of work. It's just the season of life that I'm in. And so part of that is me looking at that and be like, okay, one, my mindset around it is it's just temporary, because I used to do this every single day for years and years. And so I've recently gotten away from that, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, and just really focusing on relationships, experiences, and pouring back into myself. But like I said, I've kind of reverted back into this old way, but also it's just for this month or so while we navigate that, because it's kind of just an essential period of life, which is okay. But I just have to go and adjust my schedule. So I'm pulling back from other things. Maybe that means a little bit less of sleep, a little bit less of my like free time, and doing things that fill my cup. I'm still making sure that I'm setting those non-negotiables. Like I'm making sure that I'm doing my reading before bed. I'm doing my prayer. I'm doing my journaling. It just looks a little bit different. It may be a little bit more crammed or not as intentional as I would quite like. And that's okay. I'm just making sure that I'm sticking to my non-negotiables, including the gym and everything. And just focusing on kind of grinding this season out. But it just is a good example of, hey, different seasons require different approaches, and my goals are adjusting a little bit, and I'm just making sure I'm allowing myself to have some grace when I don't get the work done that I need to, because that's what I tend to beat myself up on, is if I don't get everything done. But I'm like, hey, it's okay. I'm just gonna move it to the next day, or I'll move it to next week. And so that's kind of how I'm approaching that too.
And even your non-negotiables can look different sometimes too, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week, right? Well, maybe it's instead of 5 times, an hour a day, maybe it's 30 minutes a day.
Hmm.
But that's still, I mean, so beneficial for you. So it's just reframing that mindset, I think, and like I said, giving yourself grace and knowing that things are going to change. It does not have to be the exact same all year round, or even month to month or week to week. Everything might change. It just kind of depends on your lifestyle.
Yeah, whatever comes up, just sit down and reflect on the goals and change the plan, change the habits accordingly. One thing I did was able to keep in though is my Sundays off, which I'm very glad because I was very excited to finally have that. So I'm like, whatever I do, that's kind of part of the reason why I'm working so much during the week too, is like so I can still have Sundays off and still go play volleyball and stuff on the weekends.
Yeah, you need that, right?
Yeah, actually, last weekend it like the weather's been bad in Florida. I don't want to complain because everyone's gonna be like, oh man, like 40 degrees, rain, oh whatever. I have all the
Yeah, it's
snow.
like it's like 10 degrees here. It's you can barely breathe. It's so cold outside.
But hey, I did not sign up for that. That's why I moved here, for the record.
That's fair.
But anyway, the weather hasn't been great. But last weekend it was raining, but it was so much fun. We actually like I got my normal volleyball group and we all went and just played in the rain, and it was honestly one of the best weekends I've had in a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think part of it's too just because it's different, it's a different vibe. You're out there, it's unusual. Like I love the days when it's a beautiful sunny day and we're out playing, but also they start to blend together. And I feel like this is such a core memory of just us having a blast, just playing out in the rains. We're the only ones out there aside from one old dude just like running drills. um, so it's just cool core memory and something that like you won't forget as opposed to all the other days and the things that blend together. So I thought it was a cool experience.
Did you know like going into it that it was gonna be raining, or were you out there and all of a sudden it started raining?
No, like we were watching the forecast, like it said it was gonna rain. So when we went there, we were all like texting beforehand. We're like, should we do it? Like, what do we think is gonna happen? I don't want it to rain. But we're like, all right, let's just risk it. And we had a feeling it was going to rain, but at that when we got there, it wasn't. But then once it started raining, we're like, oh, okay, let's just do it, have some fun. So it worked out well.
That's cool. And the reason why I asked that is, and this is just maybe me, but I feel like if I plan it, like if I was going to go out and play volleyball, for example, and I thought I was going to be playing in the sunshine and get out there and it starts raining, like part of me was like, this stinks. Like I don't want to do this, whatever. But if I go into it saying, okay, it's going to be raining, this could be fun. I kind of like talk myself into it. I remember all of a sudden just popped in my head. I remember one of the most fun like pickup like high school football games that I've ever played. We just go to a field with a bunch of guys and you play tackle football. It was pouring down rain, and in Houston when it rains a lot, it floods a lot.
Mm.
And I remember the water was probably almost up to our knees, pouring down rain, and we're still playing out there at football, and we had so much fun. It was a mess, but I don't know like if we were playing and then it would have happened, but we kind of went out there knowing, hey, it's pouring down rain. How much fun it would be just to run around in the standing water and tackle each other and just be silly or whatever. So
Yeah, that kind of stuff I love, and like you still remember it to this day, just because it stands out. I love that so much.
I
No,
do.
yeah, I think part of the excitement too was like weather's not great, but we're all committed. We're just going for it anyway. We don't care what happens. It's kind of cool having that ride or die crew. We were joking, we're like, what, like we're the only ones out here. Like, what kind of people are we? And I'm like, we're dedicated. And the other guy's like, no, we're psychotic. I'm like, it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. That's fun though. That's a good time.
Yeah, so still making sure I'm filling my cup. But what else has been going on with you? I heard you got a new book that you're enjoying.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, oh gosh, I think it's like the 25th anniversary or so. So there's a book called The Tipping Point. I think a lot of people are familiar with it, but written by Malcolm Gladwell, and it was about basically how like little things can make a huge difference. Like little changes can make a huge difference. So, and The Tipping Point talked about like trends, ideas, just changes how they like spread like virus like right away, right? And so he wanted to come up with kind of like an anniversary book, and it was called like The Revenge of the Tipping Point. So of course I had to get it. I love his writing style, and so this one's kind of like how like bad things and like harmful trends or dangerous ideas spread just as quickly as good ones.
Hmm.
And so he talked about, they talked about COVID in there, and talked about some other things. That was definitely more on the negative side, and how those things spread so quickly. So it's super interesting. And I don't know about, are you a big reader?
I'm trying to be, but no, I'm really not. It's always been something I've struggled to get into, but I have made an intention of. I read every single day. And just sometimes it's hard for me to get super into it. Sometimes I reread pages, or I lose focus. So I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of the same way. I've really gotten into reading in the last few years, and I really enjoy it, and I look forward to it. But I'm a really slow reader,
Mm.
and if I'm not really focused, then I'm like, oh, what did I just read? I gotta
Yeah.
go back and like read that page again. So I'm not the fastest. It takes me a while, but I love more nonfiction books like The Tipping Point, or the Stoicism stuff by. Um, it's more interesting to me, but I do enjoy it. So I've had a good time reading it. It just takes me a while to read it.
Yeah, I find if my mind's scattered, like I'll be reading it, but like I'm just like going down like a whole other train of thought, and then I'll get down to the end of the page. I'm like, what is going on? Where am I?
I know. I have to really focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah. With that book, was there a difference between how the negative stuff spreads versus the positive? Because I feel like negative always gets a lot more traction. That's why the news is so popular and everything. I'm curious, did he talk much about that and the difference between the positive and negative?
Great question. I don't know if I can answer that. And it's been a while also. I really should read The Tipping Point again now that I'm reading this. But yeah, and I don't know if I can really answer that, but I can tell you from the negative side of things, it's interesting how like a lot of things, like people just don't talk about it. And it's like a lot of things happen. Like COVID, for example, they're talking about super spreaders and things like that, and how like none of this stuff that he was talking about is out like nationally in the big news, like where people were talking about it. And one of the stories he's talked about was like they're talking about segregation, and like forcing like different families to live together, to work together and live together. And I'd never heard of that story before. And talking about a high school that was like everyone there is just like super driven, and from the outside, everything looks like they have all these national championships in sports, and the GPA is out the door type of thing. And then, but they've had a suicide problem type of things, and so it's really interesting, like how all the negativity and all the things that are really sad, really, it's not nationally broadcasted. Just people kind of push it under the door, and just don't want to talk about it.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's been an interesting read.
Cool. What would you say your favorite book that you've ever read is?
Oh, favorite book. All of a sudden, I am drawing a blank on the author, of course, but Stillness is the Key
Okay.
is probably one of my favorite. And I read it. I say there's a lot of favorite books, but I say that's one of my favorites just 'cause I've read over and over again. It's super easy to read,
Mm.
and the way he writes it is in short paragraph or short chapter form,
Oh,
so you
nice.
can easily go and read a chapter like in 10 minutes. And I like that because I have it. It's easy to closure. I don't have to like stop in the middle of the chapter. Like, oh my gosh, I have like 30 pages left in this chapter. It's really easy, but and it's a shorter book, but I can take it on a plane, read half of it on a plane ride, and it's similar in terms of they talk about different stories and different just celebrities and people that are in the um, that are just known really well, and a lot of stuff that you don't know about, and ties it into, in this case, in this book, he ties it into just improving how to be still in life, and different stories, and they correlate with that. So it's a pretty interesting book as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like when they are broken out that way too. It makes it so much easier. Like I can get a chapter done every day, and like you said,
Yes.
you feel like there's that closure.
Yeah, much better, much easier. So all right, so let's talk about, so motivation is usually not the problem. The problem is relying on the motivation. A lot of people are going to the gym, starting off the new year. Hey, I want to lose weight. I want to do this, and that's great. The motivation to do that is fantastic, and that's really when you need to jump all over it, when you're highly motivated. But it's emotion, and like all emotions, it comes and goes, and sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's not, and it can't always wake people up, in the morning and say, "Hey, you need to go work out." Like, this bed feels pretty comfortable right now, right? So, you wake up, and we've talked about this. You feel all excited, and you're pumped up. You're gonna crush your goals, and the next day you're tired, or you're stressed out, or maybe you're a little sore, and all of a sudden that the motivation is gone. You're looking for like, where were you? Like they're out to lunch, right? So, but like we said, that's pretty normal. We all experience that, and this is where your why comes in. And your why is kind of like you said this. I love this. It's like an anchor, and it's a thing that really keeps you grounded, even when that motivation is gone. You can't find them, right? So your why is what makes you get out of bed for that early workout. It makes you choose that healthier option, or at the restaurant, or the healthier food option at home, foods that make you feel better. It's what drives you to just kind of keep showing up for yourself, even on days when you're beating yourself up or you don't really feel like it.
Yeah, and having that strong why isn't just about fitness or health. It applies to every single area of your life too, and how you're showing up in that, whether that's work or your career, your business, your relationships, your personal growth. Without that deeper sense of purpose, it's easy to lose momentum and get caught in that cycle of starting and stopping over and over again.
Yeah, and I like it kind of like there's a seed analogy that I've heard. So it's finding your why is kind of like planting a seed, and like at first you're not going to see much happening. All right. Even if you have a super strong why, you're going to put in that work, and just things are not going to happen very quickly. It's not going to be very obvious, but you're setting that stage for something really strong to grow over time. And, in the Bible, there's a lesson in Galatians, you reap what you sow. And kind of the idea is that, you plant that seed, right? And you work hard for it. You put in the good effort. You do what you're supposed to be doing. You're focused on your goals. You're making choices that align with your why. You're going to start seeing positive results down the road. And if you don't put in that work, you're going to lose sight of what you're doing. And, you're not going to reap a harvest because you're not going to have it. It's not going to be what you wanted. So your why is what keeps you on track, especially when things get tough. And it's really that foundation that helps you stay consistent, even when you're not seeing that progress.
I love that visual too because it kind of helps you focus on the long-term vision. Like we are growing this bigger vision. It's not just about the quick fix or getting results right now. We're planting this for the future to build something that's actually going to last and be meaningful.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I love that seed analogy because if you can, that's realistic. You go outside, you plant, some seeds, and it takes a long time to start seeing anything, but you have to go out there every day and water it. Even though you see nothing, you go every next day. You wake up, you go out there and water it. Same type of thing with your health journey. You got to put in that work. You got to do what you're supposed to be doing every day, even if you're not seeing those results right away. Give it time. Stick with the process, and it'll eventually work.
Yeah, so I guess how do we actually create the why then? I think the key here is to dig deep. Surface level reasons like I want to lose weight or I want to look good for a wedding or a trip or whatever event is coming up isn't going to cut it. You need to go deeper and uncover the bigger emotional driver behind your goals. And so there's a few questions that you can ask yourself to kind of help get there too. But I highly recommend people sit down and actually reflect on this and spend some deep time like drilling it out, writing it out, reflecting on this. But what's the real reason behind your goal? If you want to lose weight, why? Is it about feeling confident, being healthy for your family, living a longer, fuller life, like breaking family cycle, proving something to yourself? What is it?
Yeah, and if you don't really truly understand the depth of your reasoning, it is really easy to make excuses and not not go towards your goals. And there's something you can do. And I think it's really cool is you write down your initial why. And for a lot of people, we'll just use this for example. I want to lose weight. And okay, well, that's great. There's a lot of people who want to lose weight, but why do you want to lose weight? Because if it's simply I want to lose weight, it's easy to, wake up and say, I'm not that much overweight, or you know what, I'm putting on a few pounds. Everyone else around me is putting on a few pounds. So you really want to dive deep. So why do I want to lose weight? Well, I want my clothes to fit better. Well, why do you want your clothes to fit better? and you just keep going down that until you really dig deep into that real strong personal goal. They're like, well, this is why I need to make that change.
Yeah, I think that always makes me think of just the kids. I feel like kids always go do that. Like you answer questions like, oh, why? And then you give them an answer like, why? Do that with yourself. Literally go down that why rabbit hole until you get to the very deep bottom of it, like that core driver.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, kids are awesome at that. They could care less. They're like, you tell them that you're going to do something. They're like, why? And then you have to give them a good reason. They're like, well, why would we do that? And then you really have to have a strong reason for doing something.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise you're like, just do it. I don't know why.
because I said so.
Exactly. Yeah, you never want to get when you've said, because I said so. Then you've lost it, and you know that they've won. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea to think about.
And yeah, another question to ask yourself when you're reflecting on this is how is achieving this goal going to improve your life? How is it going to impact your day to day life, your relationships, your energy, your confidence? And then what will happen if you don't achieve it? Sometimes understanding the consequences of staying where you are can be just as motivating and just as driving as the goal itself. One question that I like to challenge people on is like, how much confidence are you going to lose if you don't take action on this? Where are you going to see yourself in 6 months or 6 years down the road if you don't take action on this?
Yeah, and even this more immediate, like I heard something somewhere, some motivational thing. But anyway, it was like, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, like I don't really feel like working out right now. I'm just gonna skip the gym. And if you think about, okay, well, how's my 10 a.m. future self going to feel about this? How is it going to affect my 2 p.m. self? How's it going to affect my 6 p.m. self? And you start comparing yourself to your own self later on in the day. How's it going to affect it? And you look at it like, oh man, like I'm not going to feel as energized in the morning. I'm going to start having those cravings later on. And you're starting to see yourself almost like just less and less and become less of who you want to be. So I think that's really cool practice to kind of think about how's my tomorrow self going to feel when I do this or don't do this.
Yeah, because it feels so damn good when you don't feel like doing something and you show up and you get it done. Like the confidence in yourself and the self belief and self worth that comes from keeping the promises you make, even when it's hard, is unmatched.
Yeah, and I love talking to people at the gym that they're like, man, I did not want to come today, but I'm here, and I'm doing what I can, and you could tell there's a sense of pride that they did it.
Yeah, and those workouts are always the best.
Mm.
Like everyone says that every time. Like I didn't feel like going, I went, and it was the best workout.
Yes,
No
yes,
coincidence.
totally agree, totally agree.
I actually just had a client text me before this and said, last night, like I was so drained mentally. I wanted to just grab something convenient because my wife was eating out, like she wasn't coming home for dinner. So I was about to order something, but I'm like, no, like what is my future self going to think of this? And so he said, I pushed myself through. I made a healthy dinner. I made a high protein, delicious pizza myself as opposed to ordering something out. And he was saying how much better he felt. And so I feel like it's a perfect example of that too. Like, how is your future self going to feel about it? And he felt damn good today looking back at his decision and sticking to the plan.
Yeah, that's so cool. I like to visualize like my future self like look at me and you make their decision. They're like, yes, they're high fiving you, and they're looking better than you right now. And you're like, oh man, this is so awesome. Way to go.
Yeah. So for me, my why started with my mental health. This was, way back when I first started everything. But when I was at my rock bottom, I wasn't thinking about how I wanted to look or what weight I wanted to hit. My why was purely survival at that point, and it was finding a way to feel like myself again, to wake up and not feel hopeless and miserable and trying to survive each day. That is what got me into the gym, and over time my why evolved. But I was just like so fed up of feeling like shit every day, and that was the driving force for me.
Yeah, and for me, like we talked about earlier, it changes. When I first started, truly dedicating myself to like a health journey, it was primarily like aesthetics driven, like 99.9%, and that's it. I just wanted to look better. I don't want people to see me and see me as looking better, type of thing. But now, a lot of things change, and so I want to be physically, and we've talked about the mentally strong for all the people that rely on me. Whether it's my clients or my students or my family. I want to make sure that I am more than capable, that I am optimally, strong physically, mentally for all those people. I want to be able to wake up and have the energy. I want to be able to go all day and be mentally drained, but still have that, energy and strength to be able to do all the things that I need to be doing for all these people that, rely on me.
Yeah, I love that. An important point there is your why is going to change over time. The
Mhm.
reason you start your journey is not going to be the same reason why you stick with it a year or two down the road, and that's perfectly normal and okay.
Yeah, and I was, I was, I laughed the other day when I asked you. I said, "Have you ever seen Friends?" And you said no, and I was thinking, man, like you maybe that might have been the first for me ever that I've talked to someone about Friends, and then I'll be, oh yeah, yeah, I love that show.
In my
Um,
defense, I don't have a TV. I don't watch any sort of like Netflix or anything. I used to like in the past, but yeah, right now I got nothing.
oh, in your defense, this was a long time ago, so this was running like in the '90s or whatever. But anyway, I remember there was. I'll make it really short, but there was an episode where Courtney Cox's character, Monica, she was in high school. She was overweight, and no one, she didn't go out on any dates or anything like that, and she was very self conscious and everything. And fast forward to now, the present time, she's beautiful. She's really taking care of herself and really confident, and she runs into some old high school friends, and like that was like the popular crew and everything, and she ends up going out with like the most popular guy in school, and she realizes like they're doing exactly the same thing that they did in high school, even working at like the same places and riding the same motorcycle, stuff like that. And she was like, this is pitiful, kind of like this is just, and your whys change, and at that time, her high school self had completely changed to her more mature and goal driven self. And so that kind of popped in my head when we were talking about our whys changing.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. And that's how it should be too. You should be a completely different person on a different path than you were a year ago or years ago. I think for me, my why now is more along the lines of being the best possible version of myself. I value growth over everything and growth in every area of life. And I believe that fitness is a gateway of growth in that. So I want to look the best I possibly can, feel the best I possibly can, be mentally sharp for work so I can put out the highest quality work, be the best quality human in just daily interactions and how I serve you guys, a team, clients, everything. That drives me more than anything. And my favorite motto now is set the standard. I actually have that pinned like on my desk down here so I can look at it every day. But setting the standard, I want to be the best leader I possibly can for you and this team and all of our incredible clients and just all the audience on social media and just the people I meet day to day. I want to set the standard and at a very fucking high level because I want to lead by example and make sure that I feel aligned with who I am and what I preach. All the things that we talk about, I want to make sure that I'm executing myself at a high level and setting that standard and being the best I can. Like it really just hits, I can't even put into words the meaning that it holds to me. And I feel like that's the type of why that we need when you're sitting down and reflecting on what your why is. I heard this really good quote from Layla Hermosi that I feel like kind of ties this theme together. But she said, a boss is someone who you look up to and respect in a specific role or company, but a leader is someone who you respect and look up to in every area of life. And I feel like that it just hits so hard because that's what I'm trying to embody. And I feel even as I've tried to lean more into learning how to become a good leader, reading leadership books and podcasts and all that, I feel like the common underlying theme is you need to lead by example. You need to be doing all the things yourself in every area of life. And so, like, obviously, that's the foundation. If you don't have that, then you aren't going to have the respect as a person or as a leader in any regard. And then there's other things you can do on top of that. But I just think it just really drives that point home, and I feel like it ties so beautifully into that motto of set the standard. So like that's kind of my driving force and my why and how I want to show up day to day.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're just looking at like a boss, for example, people do what the boss tells them to do because they have to do it. And people follow a leader or they have buy-in with a leader because they want to follow that person. I think there's a big difference there.
So good, yeah.
So Simon Sinek. So I think this is maybe the first time I really heard like the phrase like creating your why and understanding your why. So he has a book. It's called Start with Why, and he has a famous TED Talk Basically, he emphasizes like understanding your why is crucial for like true motivation and sustaining that long-term success. And so he kind of explains that your why is your purpose, your cause, and your belief. It's a reason like to do what you do beyond just achieving those goals, losing weight, making money, whatever it may be. So his key idea is basically that you starting with that why helps you connect with that, like we talked about, the go in the depth, that deeper motivation, and that will help fuel your passion and perseverance. And one thing he says, what I like, he says people don't buy what you do. He says they buy why you do it. So basically, be clear about your why. It keeps you motivated, but it also inspires others. Whether customers, coworkers, or just family, friends, fans, supporters. And then I think for just finding your why, just individually, it just helps you to focus on that bigger picture. Not just I'll go back to losing weight. Not just I want to lose weight, but why do you really want to lose weight? What is that deep reason? It helps you stay aligned with your true values, and we're going to have tough times. So there's going to be challenges, and it just helps you or progress is going to go slowly, and it just helps you keep going. And it's about making those decisions, taking those actions that align with your core beliefs, your true values, and not just like chasing the external rewards. There's something deep inside of why you want to do this.
Yeah, we talked about kind of ours when we started versus now, and I think I wanted to also touch on some of the ones that I've seen with clients because they really are so powerful and profound, and it can give people some good inspiration too on like how deep we want to dig with this. Just like some that come to top of mind for me is like one being family. People want to be around for their kids, their grandkids, walking their daughter down the aisle, playing sports with their son, being able to actually play with their kids and grandkids instead of being tired and out of shape and feeling too drained to do so. Also, not having to be a burden to their family with health issues and stuff. Also, living life to the fullest is such a big one. Living the longest, fullest, healthiest life possible, being able to travel the world, go on adventures, do activities, not being limited by your situation and always having full control. Like you control what you do as opposed to like having to say no to things or not being able to do stuff or just being ashamed and staying at home because you can't, like you physically cannot. I think having that control is super important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's what it is. It's a lot of these all come together with the not being limited in the future, being able to do what you want to do, and having control over that.
Also, just being confident in who you are at work, leading a team, being taken seriously at work or in your business, being respected as a leader, kind of like we were just talking about too, making the outer appearance match who you are on the inside and your values and your worth ethic. Because a lot of people are great people. They have a great value, worth ethic. They work so hard in their business, everything, but they feel like their physical appearance doesn't match that. And they want to be fully aligned as a person and how they show up physically, mentally, emotionally, or just loving what you see in the mirror, not being fat in family photos, not fitting into plane seats, car seats, event seats, like being able to go to events again without limitations or restrictions or feeling ashamed of yourself, or just breaking that family curse of health issues. These are all like just some of the ones that come to mind for me, but I'm curious what ones come to mind for you that you've seen with clients that have just been super powerful.
Well, all of the, I mean, you listed a bunch of them. I think, and those are some of my favorites too. But one of the things I was going to add to that is, and I'm really actually excited about this because I feel like when I started in the fitness industry a long time ago, almost everything I got was I want to lose weight, I want to get a six pack. That was kind of like the main things I hear. And now I'm rarely hearing the first thing come out. I want to lose weight. I want to get six pack. Yeah, there's a lot of us want to lose weight. And that's kind of a driving force between a lot of people. But that's not the first thing they say. They're like, yeah, I'd love to lose weight, but what I really want to do is I want to be able to hang out with my grandchildren. When my kids have kids, or I want to be able to travel and not worry about where am I going to be able to go because I have knee problems or back problems or I'm in a wheelchair, whatever it may be. Going, like I said, going back to that control, they want to have more control over what they're doing and just truly enjoy life and experience life around them. So like I said, I'm super excited that I'm hearing way more things like that than I just want to lose weight or I want a six pack.
And the cool thing is when you focus on those bigger whys, you get the six pack, you get the weight loss as a side effect. That's going to happen automatically when you have that deeper driving force.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the best focus. You focus on getting stronger. You focus on eating foods that your body loves. All that stuff starts to fall in place.
Yeah, I think another one that just came to mind too is breaking that on off cycle because so many people get frustrated and discouraged and feel like a failure because they go through these cycles again and again and nothing sticks and they just like they're wondering why it can't work and they don't want to live their life stressing about every little detail, having to restrict themselves, having to go to these extremes of like going super hard and then falling off. It's a miserable cycle going through that and that's not how we're supposed to live either. So I also get so fired up when people come to me and say, yeah, I want to lose weight, but more importantly, I just want this to become a lifestyle. I want the habits that are going to last the rest of my life so I can have all these things that we just mentioned too. And it gets me so fired up because that's literally exactly what we do, why we have the program that we have.
Yeah, it's about creating that new identity and basically just that optimal person of them, their future self that is there. They just need help breaking out and do that.
Absolutely.
Another thing I was thinking about too is communicating that why to family and friends and things like that. There's so many times where I'll see people trying to, and it coming from a good place, but encouraging them to do things they probably don't want to do. Like let's say you're in the break room, there's a bunch of cookies out or something like that, and someone's like, they kind of look at it like they're looking at the cookies like they want one, but they know they shouldn't, and someone walks by and says, just grab a cookie or just take one. Who's counting or who cares, whatever like that. And for someone that is really struggling, really trying to take control of that, that encouraging them to do that, even though it's not coming from a bad place, is really tough. But as opposed to if you had communicated to that person or the friends, the family, and say, hey, I'm bettering myself. I'm doing all these things because I want to improve myself. So if I see those cookies, remind me what my why is. Remind me what I'm doing, and that can be in a totally healthily positive way. Like, hey, you walk by that and say, I'm thinking about getting those cookies. Hey, remember your goal. Remember your why, or just something real simple. And be like, oh yeah. I'm good on these cookies today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like you mentioned before, or when we were talking earlier, when people explain their goals, they just say, oh, yeah, I'm trying to lose weight or something. People don't dive deep into the why around it. They keep it very surface level. And I think the more you can dive deeper and communicate that to people, the more successful you're going to be and the more support that you can get around that.
Yeah, I agree.
So bottom line is we gotta get deep. People tell me they want to lose weight all the time, and to me that means nothing. Like as soon as I hear that, I'm asking those why questions. I'm trying to dig deeper. Like it should bring up some heavy emotions. That's when you know that you hit the right thing. Like even when I was thinking about mine just now, as I'm going through that, I'm like I feel that deep in my core.
Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about refining and evolving your why. So like we said, life changes, your priorities are going to shift, and they probably should shift, right? I don't think your priorities should always stay the same. So maybe your original goal was to lose weight, but as you started your journey, maybe you realized that it's better about feeling strong and feeling energized, or maybe you started a health journey or fitness plan for health reasons, but now you're focusing on challenging yourself and hitting new PRs. Or basically the point is that it's okay for you for your why to evolve. And like I said, I think it's actually very healthy for your why to evolve. You don't want to get stuck in that same thing all the time. So it should evolve as you grow, and you're going to learn more about yourself. And I was thinking about, I love tying the health journey into finances and the financial world. I need to talk to some of my friends that are in that world, and they can probably help me out a little more detailed. But basically, it's kind of like how you manage your money now versus when you're younger, and when you're first starting out, you're saving money to buy a house or to buy a new car, or to pay off a lot of bills, or loans, things like that. And then as you go through life, you start having kids, you start retiring, and that's going to change, how you allocate your money, how you save your money, how aggressive you want to be with your money, how conservative you want to be with your money. And same type of thing with your why. Your why is going to adjust and change and evolve as you change and grow through life.
Yeah. So we can talk about some ways to help refine your why. I think one is going to be just to reflect on it regularly. Take time every month or so to ask yourself, if is this goal still serving me? Is this still meaningful to me in this season of life? And you can do this to a certain extent, like each week, each month, each quarter, each year. Like there's all different kinds where you can be assessing that, or even just as you go through different seasons of life, if you have a big milestone, like it's time to just sit down and reflect and reassess. And if you aren't able to stay consistent either, it's important to figure out why and change your goal to make sure that you can be consistent.
Yeah, and then one thing we always talk about is celebrating our progress, right? Whether it's a small win, big win, like we want to celebrate that. And sometimes, and this is really cool, your why shifts because you've achieved what you set out to do. And so now it's cool because you get to set up a new why. And that's obviously worth celebrating. And you have clients that have weight loss goals, or strength goals, or whatever that might be, and now they're focused on, okay, we've got here, what's next, or what can we do next, and that's when it starts becoming really fun.
I love that. I actually just had a client who hit his weight loss goal and he's like, "Oh, what do I do now?" I'm like, "Oh boy, there are so many new possibilities." So now we're really going all in on strength, hitting PRs. But that's my favorite part about the third phase of our program too. Once we achieve all the goals that people set out for, it opens the door to goals that you never could have imagined before. And you just get to go all in on these things that weren't possible before because you were focused on those other like foundational goals. So it's always super cool to see that.
Yeah, and it's fun talking to clients about that third stage because you kind of see that excitement in their face. They're like, oh man, like I can't wait to get to that part of it.
Yeah.
So we also need to talk about reassessing your goals. So your life circumstances change. It's okay, and it's definitely probably recommended to adjust your goals and your why. So flexibility is probably a big key here, right? So we have clients who go through busy seasons life. Your plan is supposed to adapt with you. Sometimes you can't hit the gym, or there's just a lot of different reasons why you need to approach your why and adjust and change as you go.
Yeah, I'm reassessing my fitness goals now with having volleyball. Obviously, I've kind of gotten obsessed with volleyball, which is great. But it also means I have to reassess my training, and I've had to pull back a lot because it definitely takes a toll on your body. Training 5 days a week, doing volleyball 2, 3 days a week, getting all your steps and everything. So, I've been pulling back quite a bit on training. I've been doing less volume overall and just training to a much lower intensity. And I've also been continuously eating more. I've been going through a reverse diet since I finished my cut. And so I'm just consistently eating more and more and more. And the beautiful thing is I've been doing in-body scans every month too, but I just did mine for this month. And I've been freaking locked in. It feels good because obviously like I know what to do. I coach people on this, but it's always good to just do it myself and be like, okay, it's working exactly how I'm supposed to. But basically, my weight has been exactly the same like the last few months, but my body fat has gone down. I forget the exact number. Right now it's at 20, and I think I started at like 28 or something. So it's down pretty significantly. And then my skeletal muscle mass is just consistently going up. Again, I forget the exact numbers, but that's just been constantly going up, body fat going down, weight staying the same. So that it's been cool to see that progress and just how I've had to adjust, but it's still working out exactly how I want, even though initially like I pictured it being a little bit different. I wanted to go ham on the training, but I've had to adjust that as things go, and you can still make amazing progress even when things change. You just had to have the right plan to be able to adapt. I think one thing too, going along those lines, is I want to point out, just kind of unrelated to this topic, but it's important, is my weight stayed the same. I'm not trying to lose weight or like necessarily or anything. I'm trying to get leaner, but my weight stayed exactly the same, but my body fat is much lower and my muscle mass is up. And I think a lot of people get so caught up on the number on the scale. I've been talking to so many clients this week who've been saying the same thing. They're frustrated that the weight isn't moving, but I'm like, dude, you're literally looking leaner. You are getting stronger. Your energy is better. Your habits are better. You're not having these fluctuations. We're good. And so that's just an important reminder too. Like I'm seeing that in my journey too. You can be doing all the right things and your weight might not necessarily move, but you're seeing the progress that you want. So just something to focus on there too.
Yeah, so many other metrics to look at and to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the importance of setting goals that align with your why. One of the biggest reasons that people struggle to stay consistent is a lot of times that their goals don't actually align with their why, right? So we'll just give an example. If you want to be confident and energized, but your goal is tied to, like you just said, a number on the scale, then it's going to be a big disconnect. You wake up, you're like, oh man, I'm stronger, I feel better, but the scale's not changing. you're going to have that battle in your mind, just like, you were talking about some of your clients, right? So your goals should reflect what's truly important to you, not what you think you're supposed to care about. And I think this is where like a lot of people get so stuck. Their goals are set more on like external pressures, what society says or what their friends say or what their family says, or what they expect. And then they wonder why they're not motivated because it's not truly their goal. It's not truly their why. So when your goals are aligned with your why, everything just becomes much more clear. You have a direct path to understanding what am I doing, why I'm doing this. It's just a whole lot. It's just much easier to make decisions, much easier to stay consistent and keep moving forward because you're just connected to what truly matters to you personally.
That's so good because I think a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in just what you should want, the goals that you should be aiming for. But what if that, like what other people want or what society tends to push, isn't what you want? Then you're not going to feel aligned. You're not going to be able to reach your goals. You're going to feel miserable in the process. So, yeah, it really is getting deep on what you want for yourself. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Be unapologetic about it. Find what matters for you. And so we'll go over just a few practical tips for staying connected with your why too, especially when that motivation fades because it's not always going to be there. One is writing it down. Put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, on your mirror, on your planner, as a note on your phone. I set the standard, the kind of motto that I was talking about. It's on my desk in a note here, and then on my whiteboard as well. And then even like I have my screensaver, I usually put some sort of like intention or goal or why on there as well. So that way I'm looking at it every single day. And also spend some time visualizing it. Spend a few minutes each day picturing what life will look like when you actually achieve that goal. Sit in it. What are you going to feel day to day when you look in the mirror? How are you going to go about performing your day to day tasks? Like sit in and visualize what exactly your day to day is going to look like and how that's going to feel for you.
Yeah, and we talk about finding your tribe or basically surrounding yourself with people that are going to support your goals and surrounding yourself with people that are going to remind you of your why when you need it most. Because like I said, there are some people who will definitely let you down and be like, forget about your why. Let's go do this or do that or whatever. And you need people that are going to be strong for you and support you and back you up and say, hey, this is what you came up with. This is what you wanted to do. So let's talk about that. So lean on your community, strengthen your why. But to do that, you do have to share your why with close friends. If you don't tell anyone, they're not going to know, how to support you, right? So it can be friends, family. Obviously, as trainers, coaches, we are like our clients' biggest fans. We want them to succeed so much. We're going to keep them accountable, encourage you when your motivation dips. And when others really understand the drive and what you're really trying to reach here, they can remind you of it. And especially when it gets challenging, helps you refocus. And then also involve them in celebrating the wins. Share those little things. They're like, oh, it's just a small win. No, share it with people. And acknowledge that you are making progress, even if it's tiny steps. Every step just reinforces your why.
And check in with yourself. Regularly ask yourself if your goals and your actions are aligned with your why. If something feels off, take time to reassess, reflect. And your goals and structure will change. So many people get caught up in that mentality that it's all or nothing. If they can't do it 100%, they revert back to nothing and get down on yourselves. But that's not how it is at all. Like you can adjust. It doesn't need to be perfect. We always say progress over perfection.
Yeah. So your why is the foundation of everything. It's going to keep you going when that motivation is just fading, which we said it will happen, right? So life gets busy, the journey gets challenging, but it's okay for your why to change as well. It's going to evolve. It's okay for goals to shift. And what matters most is that you're staying consistent, you're staying true to yourself and what you really actually need at this moment in life. So as we move on to the new year, motivation starts to wane. Maybe it's already starting to do that. We want to challenge you to take a step back, reconnect with your why, write it down, refine it, really dig deep into it, get some really good depth into it and let it guide you, and if you're struggling to figure it out, you feel like you've kind of lost your way, like that's pretty normal. You're not alone, and so this is something that we work on with our clients all the time. If any of our clients or anyone out there needs support, like we're always there for them.
Yeah. If you want to connect with us, you can find us on socials. I'll link those in the show notes. But the best place is going to be in our private community. We run all kinds of challenges, giveaways, calls, and new content every day, and it's completely free to join. I have resources, training programs, nutrition guides in there to make sure you have the right plan, accountability to reach your goals. So I'll put that link in the notes as well. And I also just want to give a special thanks to everyone who has been listening so far. We've received
Yeah.
so much positive comments and feedback, and it seriously makes my day every single time. I'm just honored that like people are taking the time to go and listen to this episodes and hear what we have to say. So it really means a lot. So from the bottom of both of our hearts, we just want to say thank you all to everyone who's been listening and saving and sharing the episodes. And just please continue to give us feedback and support. And we want to make this as valuable and powerful for all you guys. So thanks again for tuning in. And as always, we will see you guys next week.